lead us.
I was really hoping you could take the lead.
No, I did it last time. Is that how busy we've been?
It's how busy we've been.
Yeah.
And like, right, I'm not in a great mood. It's not your fault. I had to fire off kind of an annoyed email to somebody who's not doing what they're supposed to do, and they're asking me basically to do their job for them, and I'm tired of it because it's been consistent for a long time, and I've been saying basically the same thing, and it's not changing anything. And so I was frustrated, and I probably should not have hit send at the moment that I sent it, but I did, and maybe it's better actually, because if I had kept going, I was not in a great frame of mind, a great like vein for saying things. So it's better that way. And just there's a lot going on. That's nobody's fault. And so my head is in a different place right now. I'm just really happy to sit down with you, though. I feel like I haven't talked to you in days.
It's been weeks. Oh, well, these days too.
It hasn't been weeks. It's been days.
There's been a lot going on.
It's great, though.
Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yes, I can breathe a little bit this week, which
is
that's
great.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I was just launching all the small groups, and
did you say launching all the small groups?
Did I say that?
No,
launching.
I'm just teasing. You said launching.
Oh,
you said
okay.
launching. Yeah.
Launching all the small groups, which requires a lot of tech experience. So I will say that.
Really?
So a lot of. Oh yeah.
Why does it require so much tech experience?
Signups, website, getting links for registration, making sure it's getting sent to the correct group. Setting up group leaders as group admins. There's so much back end just to launch a small group.
That was some good corporate speak right there. There's a lot of back end on launching and setting up. And after we run out the flagpole, we'll circle back.
It's all the hidden stuff that like no one sees.
Yeah.
That takes so long, and there's so much that takes administratively. Then also fine tuning the website for Seek and the registration for that, and getting a link to like our church bank account, and it's all the stuff that no one sees that takes forever. So that's what was interesting for me, is I think recognizing for myself this past week, last 2 weeks, is this is going to be with regard to ministry, because in one way, there's so much that you have to do behind the scenes, and yet at the same time, there's a lot that you have to do at the front to lead, to speak, or to to kind of be a presence. And I find myself, particularly right now in the space that I'm in, the season that I'm in, that I'm not doing both of them well. Either if I do one, I am neglecting the other, which only leads. So if I'm focusing on giving and prepping a talk, that's going to take time away from a lot of the admin tech stuff that I have to do to make something happen. And then I end up in a space of like great stress, great frustration. That's when you walked by my office last week and you asked me if I was able to get something done. And I looked at you and I was like, no, that is the last on my list, on the list of many things.
Yeah.
It's because I was like so stressed.
Sure.
But I had said yes to doing something on this end, but it cost me on this end. So I just was kind of thinking about, can't operate on the max on both ends.
Correct.
But it's okay to take a step back and to kind of do, at least for me, like right now, like the Lord was like, you need to take a step back and just do a lot of like the coordination, the organization, and those things. Because Paula, look, you've got leaders for a small group. Do you have to lead a small group? Probably not right now. You have a lot to do with the CP map. You have a lot to do with like Seek coming up and all these new projects. But what I find myself is like, but I just want to be at the front. I just want to lead. What if I don't do this? And so I'm competing with myself, and I'm also realizing I've been competing with like my people pleasing tendencies. Like, what if I don't do it? And what if I enter into like this savior complex, or like I have this responsibility to always, in a way, like kind of be a face, but then I neglect the things that have to get done that no one else can do at the moment.
Yeah.
And then what happens is I don't give my best self if I'm in those spaces. So that's kind of like, I guess like we'll call it burnout in ministry, because this is what this is.
Yeah, well, you're right. That's where the burnout comes from. but it's not uncommon, and it's important to make the distinction between the things that you can actually do and the things that you cannot do. There's so much that we just have to get done. But like Acts chapter 6, right? Acts of the Apostles talks about, I'm looking it up here. The disciples are increasing in number, and the Greeks are concerned because those who are of Greek origin and not of Hebrew origin are being neglected in the daily distribution of the bread. So here among the community, among those who are coming to believe in Christ, there are some who are being neglected. And so the 12, the apostles, summon everybody, and they said, look, here's the deal. It is not right that we should give up preaching the word of God to serve tables. Therefore, brethren, pick out from among you 7 men of good repute, full of the Spirit and of wisdom, whom we may appoint to this duty. But we will devote ourselves to prayer and to the ministry of the word. So right there, from the very earliest days of the church, this exact problem has existed. So I want you to know first, Paula, you are in great company.
I'm among all the saints.
You are in great company. It's true. Like the desire that you have, right? That desire, I want to be out front. I want to lead. I want to help people along the path. That's a good and holy desire. Right? There's nothing bad about that. And then the recognition that there are some things that need to be done that maybe you can handle, maybe you can't handle. There's fine. Like it's important to know that too. And then what can you give to somebody else to do, and what must be yours to do?
Yeah, man, you sound like Kathy Coyle.
No, because this is exactly the thing that I have to deal with.
Oh,
too,
yeah, we
right?
both do.
Well, that's what. So it's funny because the thing that I was asking you about, can you do this, was the thing that like I need to give to somebody else. I did the part of that I could do, and that needed my attention, but I need somebody else to do this part.
Yes, I have to make it look pretty. That's what I do. So I make things look nice.
I had to give that to you because that's really outside of what my job is, right? I did the thing that I needed to do. In a way, I led in the way that I needed to lead. But now it's time for me to step away from leading. And this is all one task.
Right.
There's a part of it that's mine, and there's a part of it that I must delegate to somebody else. And in ministry especially, you're right, that part that's out front, and then the back end things that really need to happen. We've done this actually when we've volunteered with Steubenville. When we've done the Steubenville conferences, we are back end.
Yeah, for sure.
We're behind the scenes. The stuff that we're doing is not seen by the vast majority of the people who are there.
Right.
There's another part, the people who are up giving the talks, the presentations, those who are right out in front, and that's what everybody notices. And I think a lot of times when we think about ministry, we think about that. This is where somehow God wants to use my talents. The number of times I've talked to people who they're inspired and beautifully inspired. Right. This is not a knock on anybody or criticism, but they get this deep inspiration. They see this wonderful thing, and they think, I want to be up there. I want to be giving that talk that Sister Miriam is giving.
Yeah.
I want to be giving that talk that whoever the big name Catholic speaker is giving. Put me up there. Like I feel so much zeal for my faith. I want to be that guy or that girl. I want to be the one up there doing it. Like let me give it a shot. The zeal's great. That desire, it's beautiful, right? And maybe God is calling them to that. But do they recognize that they may have other gifts and talents that are so necessary and so useful for the sake of the ministry?
Right. Cultivating that first.
Because there's the other stuff. There's it's the literally behind the scenes things that nobody sees, that nobody knows about, that make it happen. It's the hospitality. It's the table settings. It's the tech work. It's all of those things that make the ministry beautiful and make the ministry accessible and make the ministry good, functional. You have now, all right, we've got this team of people, and we're gonna get all the volunteers to the place that they need to be, and those volunteers are going to be exactly where people need to see somebody to point them in the right direction. And so the event moves smoothly because we've got all these people properly attired so that they look like they're in charge of something, pointing people in the right direction. We've got signage. We've got all the signs have been made. They look good. They're clear. They're easy to read. They're posted where they need to be posted, in a place where people can easily see them.
Yeah.
All of that stuff happens behind the scenes and really has nothing to do with the person on stage with the microphone.
No, it doesn't.
The person on stage with the microphone doesn't even know that sign is hanging somewhere, because the person on stage with the microphone hasn't even been out of the arena, hasn't been further than like from here to here, other than to like go to the hotel to sleep. Right?
Yeah.
And so they've not seen any of this other stuff. And that's actually the point. It's
you made space for the speaker to actually speak, and that
if you're the one doing the back end work, the support work, the behind the scenes work, that ministry is necessary because it facilitates and makes possible the ministry of that person who's giving the talk. If you're the person at the check-in desk, right, taking in people as they come, you're the first face that they see, but they will not see you again.
Right.
The rest of the conference or the rest of the time that they're there. Mm-hmm. You're there to greet them. Great, thanks very much. And then they're on their way and you don't see them again. But you gave them something. You did something for them. A small group. You're helping to get all this stuff organized. Now, you also did a lot of leading on the front end.
Right. It was leading with a few.
Yeah.
It was like training them, spending time with them, doing dinners with the leaders. And because I can't be in all spaces, but just like Jesus had the 12, you take a few and then you send them out to go and do that. In the same way that the laity are the hands and feet of the priest. Like we are an extension of you out in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like that similar, the same idea. Like we always tell ourselves, like, well, we could do everything, and so we sign up for everything. The hardest thing for me to say is no. It's so hard to say no. Yeah, I'll do it, and I'm excited, and I'll act impulsively, and I'll just. Part of it makes me feel good, and this was really hard to learn when we were doing the lectures that we're doing for the program. When it said that we are called to make a gift of ourselves, but sometimes we make a gift of ourselves out of a place of satisfying our own needs, so it's selfish. That hit me hard because, oh my gosh, I had to ask myself, Paula, do I overserve because I'm trying to satisfy a need within me? And that's I'm not actually authentically sharing myself.
Yeah, I want people to think that I'm a gift. So I've given more of myself so that people will notice what a gift I am.
That could be part of it. I still have to examine it. Or is it like what wounded part of me wasn't, validated when I was younger. And so like now I'm over serving to fulfill that need, to help somebody or to please them or to not say no. And then I'm stuck in this place of just kind of anxiety, honestly.
Yeah.
An anxiety to say the no, and an anxiety now that I have to do everything.
I'm going to take a little risk because I might be contradicting the things that we're studying as we do the certification program.
Well, you could talk about that with Dr. Greg.
Yeah. Like I might be contradicting something, but I'm not entirely certain that everything goes back to when we were younger.
Interesting.
Right. Like I know it does in so many ways. It goes back to when you're younger. It goes back to the things that you learned or the things that you internalized, like from the earliest days. I know. I get that. But there's this part of me that's going, well, some of it is actually based on what's happened more recently. You see the need. And when the need increases.
It's true.
What do you see? You see somebody has to meet the need.
Right.
And why not me? Mm-hmm. Now, this is where it gets fun. I feel that call. Jesus says, come follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. Jesus invites you in to do something. Today's, we're recording on the Feast of the Conversion of St. Paul. Mm. And so there goes Saul into Damascus. And as he gets into Damascus, or just outside Damascus, he sees the blinding light, hears the voice of Jesus speaking to him, Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? Who are you, Lord? I am Jesus, the one whom you are persecuting. Go into the city, find a place to stay, and I'm going to take care of you. And so Saul goes into the city. He's blind. He fasts for 3 days. And then Ananias comes and lays hands on him. It's interesting, right? So he fasts and prays for 3 days, and he's blind. He's in the darkness. It's like death. On the third day, Ananias lays hands on him.
He rises.
And he's able to see. But where was Paul or Saul, like at the time, he wasn't Paul yet. Where was he when Ananias came to him? On the third day, Saul was in the house of...
I don't remember the house.
Judas.
Oh.
Like, how wild is that?
That's so cool.
Judas betrayed Jesus, who then goes into the tomb for 3 days, into that darkness of death, and rises again, glorious, triumphant, and alive, full of light and glory.
That's cool.
Saul persecutes Jesus.
Dang.
Ends up in the house of Judas.
Switch up.
And then is cured and healed and given new life and a new beginning and eventually even a new name.
That's so cool.
Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.
Oh, I love it. It's so cool. Okay. Anyway, we remember that we were called. We like, there was something that inspired you to get into ministry. There was something that inspired you to say, I want to dedicate my working life to glorifying God, to helping people to encounter Jesus. There was something that inspired me to say, I want to be a priest. Jesus has called me to be a priest, and so I'm going to say yes to that. And then along the way, we see the fruit of that vocation, of that calling.
Yeah.
And we recognize that God has asked us to do something, to be part of something, right? And so, I'm sorry, hang on one second.
Okay.
God has called us to be part of something, to do something. If we are called to do something, to be part of something, then we're going to do it. And so we go into everything with that knowledge. Somewhere in your heart and in your mind, you know God has called you to serve. God has called you to go and do something great for the kingdom. And you know that in every single, and we can do that with confidence then. Like, I know my vocation is to be a priest. And so there are certain moments where I know it doesn't really make any difference what's happening. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to discern in the moment. I know that right here, I am to be priest for these people or for this situation, right? And I know it beyond the shadow of a doubt because that's who I am. You've been called into ministry. And so you know that when a ministerial opportunity presents itself, you are called to serve and to minister.
Right.
But here's where sometimes the ministry opens up more and more and more. And we start to see that things are growing, things are happening. And we know that we're called to ministry, and we are. Our call to continue laboring in the vineyard doesn't change.
Right.
That hasn't changed at all. Like, you're still called into ministry. You're still called to do all these great things. But as things grow, are you called to be the only one who's working?
No.
What does Jesus say in the gospel when he looks out and he sees
there's not
everything?
Enough harbors. I mean, not harbors.
Harbors for the lavist or something.
There's not there, which it's so great because that was my prayer a couple years ago here. Like, Lord, like I need laborers for the harvest.
Yeah.
We need people. And I'm like, now he's giving me people. And it's great. I was like, this is awesome. But that requires now for me to kind of step back a little bit and work with the few for the moment to be able to launch them.
Yeah.
To walk with them in a very particular way.
And it's a constant balancing act.
Right.
And
it's up and down.
rebalancing.
Right.
There's not one time or another where it's absolute.
No, exactly. It's like, that's the season I find myself in currently.
Right.
Which is good. It's a very good, because that, this week I was able to walk in with, oh, I'm less stressed. Oh, wow. Oh, it makes sense to have said no to some of these things. Yeah. That's much better.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so much better. It was a 180. So yes, I think. I'm gonna go with Dr. Greg. It's definitely a lot from childhood.
Okay. Hey, fair enough.
Yeah. Well, I'll think about it in this way, because how can your job is a part of your identity. Kind of like, this is how I contribute to society. This is how I provide, and there could be a special vocational calling to that. So what I found interesting for myself as I was reflecting this past week was, how often can I let the identity of my job overtake my identity as like a daughter of God?
Yeah, right on.
I think that's the other part where there's that burnout. There's another like nuanced layer there. I remember this when I was in Focus. And there was I think it was Father Gabriel. He was talking, and he was giving a talk on identity, and he was in confession with someone. So he didn't tell the sins. He was just saying, like, he point blank asked this person, "Who are you?" And her response was, "I'm a Focus missionary." His response was, "You're not. You're a daughter of God." And that was really powerful because I definitely took that title of focus, and I was like, I am focus. I am the focus missionary. That's just happened to be what I'm doing at the time, but it isn't the title. I could do the same thing with my job right now in evangelization. I am an evangelizer. Now that's part of it. That is part of the gifts, but that shouldn't replace or be above the identity of daughter of God.
Right.
And when those identities kind of get switched, I've noticed that's when there's a lot of stress in my life, because I'm not operating out of being a beloved of the Father. I'm operating out of productivity. I need to be doing such and such and such in order to perform. And in that way, now I'm doing things for God, but doesn't mean I'm looking at God. Another trap in ministry. I could be doing things for Jesus and not spend time with Jesus. So, yeah, those are the things that I've been kind of wrestling with the last couple weeks.
Well, they're good things to wrestle with because it's making the adjustments as you go along, and it's recognizing, all right, what's happening right now. What's happening right now in the ministry that I'm doing, and too often I think we get caught up in the dream of the outcome. Mm-hmm. So I just want to look to the future. Eventually we're going to do this. Eventually we're going to do this. Eventually we're going to take this next step. Mm-hmm. And we don't do the things that need to be done today. Right? On the other hand, sometimes we get so caught up in what's going on today that we forget the big picture.
Right.
And so we get so caught up in small details, in working on this flyer or that flyer, or my aggravated email, which was about writing a letter that was supposed to have not been my letter to write. Write the letter. It's your job to write the letter. Stop asking me to do it for you, right? And like, I could very easily have felt like, no, I need to make the changes to this because that's what I did. I've done this in the past, so I've set it up. It's my own fault.
You have.
It's totally my fault. Yeah, like I took this thing that they wrote and I said, here are the edits that I want to make, and here's all the things that should be different. And I think it came out much better. Mm-hmm. This time they gave me basically the same thing they gave me last year, and I said, no, this doesn't work. And they said, well, would you like to rewrite it? And I said, no, that's your job. Mm-hmm. Do it. Here's the weakness. Here's the things that are not good about it. You fix it. I'm not fixing it for you. Not my job. I don't have time. Right? And
good job setting a boundary.
Well, I had to, but like honestly, it's an angry boundary. It's not like, this isn't like a happy boundary. Okay, there's boundaries. Like, boundaries are, yeah, I know, but look, I don't want to have angry boundaries with people. Right? I'm a team player. I want you to know, like, I'm here for you. But this is just ridiculous. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not doing this. No, it's not happening. I don't have time for that. But we can so easily get caught up in this is what's happening right now. So I've just got to do this, and this. We have no vision looking ahead.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
No vision looking ahead. Or we start to see the list of tasks in front of us. Mm-hmm. And we see the ones where we know we absolutely must be part of it.
Right.
But then we start to think, these other things that I don't absolutely have to be part of still need to get done. Mm-hmm. Who's going to do it?
Right.
Who's there to do that? If I don't have somebody to do it, then I have to do it.
Right.
Now, sometimes that means that we're forgetting that we can go look for somebody. Because we're so overwhelmed by the immediacy of the task. Mm-hmm. This has to get done. I'm not talking about like an emergency. Right? There's bleeding. Stop the bleeding. Right? I don't mean that. I mean like those little things where, all right, we've got to organize some website stuff, and this needs to be taken care of. Well, I don't have anybody who can do that right now, so I'm just going to do it. I'm going to take care of it myself. Here's how I've experienced that. All right, so I've experienced that as thinking, this needs to get out there. Let me put something together and I'll put it out there. And so I put something up, post something, especially on our parish Facebook, and nothing happens. But then I learned, here's what I want to see out there. let me give it to Paula. And Paula will do something with it. And when she posts it, it gets traction. People notice it. They pay attention.
Got a 60% open email rate. That's pretty good.
Exactly.
That's actually pretty great.
No,
We used to be at 40.
There's a difference when I give certain things to you. Mm-hmm. And when I ask you to do them, because you do them well and you do them better than me, but also because it's a gift that you've got. I want to affirm that gift.
I'm going to say it's a gift that I developed because I saw a need for it a couple years ago.
Fair enough. But
because it doesn't come naturally.
But to take the time to develop a gift is itself a gift.
That's true, I guess.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a cooperation with a grace, and it's amazing. So I want to affirm that.
Thank you, sir.
But I also don't want you to get all caught up in thinking that you've got to do all of that stuff, all the behind the scenes stuff, all by yourself all the time.
Well, here's what I did notice. When you sent me that flyer for the St. Patrick's St. Joe's, it was like 20 minutes. I was like, dang, good. Look at you, Paula. Like, good job. Like, this would have taken you over an hour last time, but you know what you're looking for now. But anyways, I've gotten better. So like those things, it doesn't like bother me. Like that one was like, okay, that's a small little thing that's going to take like 20 to 30 minutes of my time. That's it. But it's true. I'm not supposed to do everything.
Right.
So.
But it's the lesson that we all have to learn. And sometimes we learn it and then we forget it.
Yeah.
And we have to go back and relearn it. We have to go back. Oh yeah, that's right. I already know how to do this, or I know what not to do in this situation. So let me go back and not do that. Or, well, I kind of messed that one up because I thought I should do it myself. Next time I'm going to have to make sure that I let somebody else do it, or I ask somebody else for their help or something. Like it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it is.
But it's important that you're able to look at that and say, oh, this is how it should have been. I'm getting caught up right now. Like in your case, getting caught up in the leadership component, which is so important, of helping your small group leaders to know what they're supposed to do, teaching them, forming them, supporting them. They need to know that they can come to you.
Well, I mean, I'll give you an idea of this because this is what happened last semester. I had also signed up to go to a small group. Then I led a small group. Then we had the food drive. Then we had Christmas coming up. What did I not have time for? I had no time to check in with my leaders during the fall. And I was like, that's not supposed to happen. I was so busy also leading that I wasn't also walking with the leaders.
Right.
And I decided that this semester, after much conversation and conviction from Kathy. She's like, do you have to lead a group? I was like, I do. She goes, who told you?
Yeah, exactly.
Me told me that I have to lead a group. She goes, but why?
That's excellent grammar there. Me told me.
Me told me.
Yeah.
From me to me. So anyway, so I really sat with that for like 3 days. At first I was like, I growled. And then I was like.
You growled?
On the inside, I have a growling. Well, I meow, but I also growl. Now, the meowing is literally true.
Paula is famously a cat person.
No, I don't identify as a cat. It's kind of what we did in our family.
Of course you don't identify that way. But you are a huge fan of the cat.
I'm a huge fan of the cat. The cats are great. No, okay, totally tangent, but like in our family, when we were younger, we had our cat, Ginger. But what we would do is, let's say something was happening and we did like an oopsie, would you go, meow, oh well, meow. Like, I'm not even kidding. And we still do that. Now, those of us,
Folks,
those people who are close in our family, like my roommate last year, oh gosh, I like put something wrong in the cabinet and I was like, oh, meow. And she goes, did you just meow? And I was like, oh, dang it, you heard that. Listen, I'm weird. I already know this.
She said it. I didn't say it. Just so we're clear.
I am so strange.
Paula's saying these things about herself. I don't even have to say them.
I don't care. It's fine. It's a family thing.
It's
oh,
great.
Gosh. I forgot what my point was.
Look, it's...
you're
recognizing that the gift of leadership that you have, which you do have, right? You have a gift for leadership and for guiding people and teaching them.
Yeah.
Right? But that gift in every single circumstance doesn't need to be exercised, or it needs to be exercised differently. So, for example, one of the ways of leadership will be sometimes leadership is more remote, hierarchical, right? And so you're leading. You can say like leading a small a group of people who are going to lead small groups. They have to be the local level.
Exactly.
And then you help them. You coordinate with them. You work with them.
I have to be the support. I have to be like the encouragement. Like, oh, like what's going on? How can I check in?
And the thing is that is very real leadership. I don't know if you ever remember this happening when you were in like elementary school, but every once in a while the principal would walk into the classroom and sit in the back.
Yeah.
You know, and so the principal's there supporting the teacher,
Mr.
but also you remember the principal's name.
That's he always wore whale socks. So his last name, Mr. Whalen.
Nice.
He was a nice guy.
Cool. But you've got the principal there supporting, but also the principal supervising.
Yeah.
Right. So there's that knowledge. The teacher has the knowledge that my supervisor is here, present, and the teacher has the knowledge that I'm supported. Hopefully, they feel supported. Right.
Yeah.
Your small group leaders will know that you are there for them, not in a supervisory way where you're like just looking over their shoulder the entire time.
Right.
But you're there in support.
Right.
You're there to help. That's a form of leadership.
Right, and that's what I'm being called into.
Form. Yeah.
So, man, I had a point that I was going to, and then I interrupted it with a meow.
Which is actually exactly what a cat does. Cats just kind of interrupt whatever you're doing. They come and they crawl over your keyboard. They decide that they want something, and they want it now. And so whatever it is that you need to do or that you're trying to do is simply not important. Because the cat is in charge.
Yeah.
Cats are stupid.
No, they're not.
They're dumb.
They're not. Barbara Pitaro can tell you they're not stupid.
They might have some intelligence.
They are very highly intelligent.
But I don't like them.
That's your problem.
I just don't like them.
It's okay. I don't want a dog. That's like having another child to take care of.
That's actually very accurate.
I know. This is literally why I don't. And so the joke is I only like things that are self-sustaining. I'm like, oh, this cat is self-sufficient. I don't really like. I got an automatic feeder because I didn't want to get bothered in the morning with the meows and the petting. I'm like, no, I'm gonna let this thing feed you, so I don't think about it. And it's great.
Fair enough.
See, those are the things I'm willing to say no to. I'm willing to say no to things.
You'll say no to feeding your cat, but you won't say no to doing too much.
I know. I don't make any sense.
No. It's actually.
I'm a walking conundrum.
No, it's very much human nature. This is how we operate.
Yeah.
It's how we go.
I literally forgot my point. I knew it was a good point, but I can't remember.
I have no doubt, Paula, that it was a good point. I mean that. I have no doubt that it was a good point.
Okay.
Listener, I'm sorry. You're going to miss out on a good point.
It'll come to me as I'm
Paula's
sitting
fault.
down.
It's
and
all
like,
Paula's fault.
Oh, yeah,
everything depends on her.
Yeah, it does. It does. No, it doesn't. No, it's good. I think looking at the reasons why we burn out, and just from doing this program is really making me think, and like we do things unconsciously, but we're not always aware of it. But being able to ask and take a step back to ask, well, why do I feel so responsible, and where is that like in my story? Where have I come to believe that? Because that's really huge. That's really huge. And for me, the thing that I realized this past week, what motivates me is, one, the expectation of myself that I place on myself. But below that is the fear of disappointment. Mm-hmm. That's what was interesting. Yeah. I was like, oh, I'm not necessarily motivated. I mean, I am, that's, a second layer of the expectations of the place of myself to, oh, I'm just going to get it done. No one else can do it. Well, I can do it well. Below that is the fear of disappointment that I developed as a kid. Yeah. From a very particular trauma. And I was like, oh, wow, this is why I do this. Well, that's really exhausting. That's really tiring. Now that I see that, I'm going to act differently. There was a huge fear. What if I didn't lead a small group? I'm going to disappoint people. That's exactly what I thought. Yeah. If I don't lead a small group, people are going to be disappointed. And I don't want to make people feel disappointed. But I had to go back into my story to figure out why I did that. Because that doesn't make any sense. I shouldn't be operating like that. But it's a wound of mine. So with burnout, whether in ministry or in personal life, I think the themes are the same. Yeah. So That's really the point that I was trying to get at. Maybe that was the main point, but I don't think so. But.
Okay. I like it. See, the thing that I kept thinking about was how the behind the scenes back end stuff doesn't get enough glory.
Oh, that's interesting too.
The leader, that front end, out front sort of person is the one who everybody knows, everybody sees. And so there's a great deal of acknowledgement and of everything else that kind of goes towards that person, which means that a lot of times people think the way for me to really serve or make a difference is if I'm out front. And if they don't feel that they can be out front, they often feel they cannot serve.
Right.
And I think it's important to acknowledge and to promote those back end, behind the scenes gifts.
Right.
And what a treasure they are in service to the gospel.
Yes, yes.
The practical, the organizational, the administrative, these are all things that are really, really helpful because they're so important. They're so necessary in the life of the church. So when you're exercising your gift, when you're doing the thing and you're doing it well, what a huge difference it makes. What a huge, huge difference. Somebody who's got a particular skill or talent, but who doesn't want to be out front, can still serve.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Someone who doesn't feel that they have the capacity to have the microphone in their hand can still be one of the most important pieces of all the machinery that is the life of the church and the life of promoting the gospel.
I think this is in Romans or 1 Corinthians, but when it comes to a harvest, some are called to plant the seed, others are called to sow, and others are called to harvest.
Yeah. Well, so Paul talks about the different parts of the body.
Same.
And how the different parts of the body do not do the same thing, but the different parts of the body absolutely make everything work. And that when they work harmoniously and they work together, and we don't downplay the dignity or the importance of one part.
Right.
And so this goes, by analogy, this is the life of the church. The person who's out front, who's doing some of that leadership and that vision setting, who's speaking and who's teaching and who's making that big, large scale impact,
right, is
not more important or less important than the people who facilitate all of that happening.
Right.
All those different things that take place when we've got people who are volunteering, who are helping out, who are they're making the flyers, they're photocopying things, they're stuffing envelopes, they're setting up chairs, they're making sure that the table settings look nice, that the color scheme is correct.
You're laughing on the inside.
They're helping to organize volunteers. They're helping to get teams of people together. Those are the people that they're making something happen. They're facilitating it. And that work is so beautiful and so necessary. And I think very often we can get caught in either forgetting how necessary that is, or we can get caught up thinking, if I'm not the one on stage, I can't make a difference.
Right.
If I'm not the one with the microphone, I can't make a difference. If I'm not the one who's in charge, I can't make a difference. I can't help. I can't serve. And that's the lie. Because the truth is that the parts of the body function together harmoniously in support of one another, and all for that common goal.
And sometimes for yourself, you will have seasons where you do have to, the Lord wants to spend a little bit more time with you. I mean, let's think of Sister Miriam, okay? No one knew of her until she stepped on a stage a couple years ago. But before that, she was hidden in a convent.
She still is in a convent.
Oh, sorry. No, she was in...
Just so we're clear.
Sorry, more clear.
She's still in a convent. She's
right.
She just speaks more publicly.
She speaks more publicly, but before that, there was a lot of time of hiddenness with the Lord.
Well, and there was also the gradual preparation.
Yeah.
The gradual preparation to do these different things. Think of the number of times you hear about the story of the CEO of the company who started in the mailroom.
Yeah.
I got my job here in the mailroom, and then I just started getting promoted throughout the company, and now I'm the CEO. So they get this entry position, and they start somewhere, and they eventually end up being the person who's running things. The same is true for how many other ministries. I started assisting with this. I was doing some support work, and eventually the question came, could you ever talk about this? And so I gave one talk to a small group of people, and then that led to taking on this role with the group or doing this other thing.
Right.
You know, and it doesn't mean that the skill that they have in doing the behind the scenes work is gone or no longer needed. It just means that God has now inspired another gift in them that it's time to take this on.
Mm-hmm.
But if we think that the only gift is the one that God inspires, that puts somebody out there to be the inspiring speaker or the great teacher or the one who's in charge and leading, we forget that these other gifts are all necessary. And sometimes those gifts build on one another.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you begin with one gift and God starts bestowing more gifts and new gifts upon you.
He starts unfolding it.
Yeah, and as those new gifts start to build, you can start to really come alive more and more with what God wants you to do.
You know what? This is good. This is a good good announcement for April 20th.
Oh, my goodness.
Spiritual Gifts Workshop. So if you yourself are wondering about, what your gifts are and how to use them for God, we do have someone coming in to St. Pius on Thursday, April 20th at 7 p.m. to give a workshop.
See right there, though? That's a great idea. Someone is coming in. Someone is coming to do that. Not you and not me.
Oh, yeah.
Someone else is coming to come and talk. No, but seriously.
Lord knows I don't have time.
Somebody else is coming to do this important work.
That's true.
To help us in the work that we're trying to do.
Yeah.
But not just to help us, but to help the whole parish, to help the whole community, to help people who are searching for that gift that they might have, so that they can take that next step.
Mm-hmm. It's powerful.
It's great. All right, let's stop there.
Okay.
You're great, Paula. Thanks so much.
You're fantastico.
Aww.
Look at that. I spoke Spanish. Because I don't speak it enough.
I'm Father Sam Cachuba.
And I'm Paola Peña.
This is We're Like the Lamb.